I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Welcome to our regular meeting this Thursday, July 30th, 2026. Is there a commissioner, any commissioners want anything removed from their consent agenda this evening? If not, can I get a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Second from Commissioner Otten. Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Otten?
Here.
Commissioner Putnam?
Yep.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Next, can I get a motion to approve our consent agenda items?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Putnam?
Yep.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Aye.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Next, moving on to regular business, we have a public hearing regarding the termination of hangar leases for sites K1, K2, and R6, and intend to enter into lease agreements for sites K1, K2, and R6 for a term exceeding 120 days and an amount exceeding $500 at the Marvsky Lincoln County Airport.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joe Meter, Deputy State's Attorney. This is a request to sign these agreements by way of background and reminder that these are agreements that we updated for lease rates at the start of this year. So these individuals are people who are already out at the hangars and have agreed to renew their leases for the new rate and for the 25-year lease agreement. Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for staff? All right, if there are no questions, this is a public hearing. Are there any opponents to the termination of the hangar leases and the intent to enter into new lease agreements? All right, any proponents? If not, can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Putnam?
Yep.
Otten?
Aye.
Aaron's?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Item 2 on our agenda is a public hearing to consider an application for a temporary on-sale liquor license to operate outside the municipality for Boondocks Bar for an event to occur on September 12, 2026, located at the Brofton Building, 47189 US Highway 18, Worthing, South Dakota, 57077, legally described as the Northeast Quarter X lots H1, H3 in the north, 423 feet east, 412 feet northeast, 1/4 northeast, 1/4 northeast, 209850, Lincoln County, South Dakota.
I'm Greg Abbott, owner of Boondocks. Looking for a one-day permit for Kyle's son's wedding dance.
All right, Greg. Commissioners, anybody have any questions for the applicant? All right, thanks. Are there any opponents to the application? Any proponents? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
Thank you. I've got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion from Aaron, second from Otten. Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Putnam?
Yep.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Aye.
Landine?
Yes, motion carries. Thanks, Greg. All right, next we have our county canvass of the governor's runoff election.
All right, so today we're going to be canvassing the results of the July 28, 2026 primary runoff election. Lincoln County had a total of 27,416 active registered Republican voters eligible to participate in the election. A total of 9,308 ballots were cast, resulted in an overall voter turnout of 33.95%. Overall, Election Day and the election night reporting process went smoothly. Poll workers, election staff, and county personnel worked diligently to ensure voters were served efficiently and the election procedures were followed accurately. Lincoln County had a total of 10 blank ballots. 5 of those ballots contained write-in votes. As write-in votes are not permitted under South Dakota law, those write-in votes were not tabulated. We also identified 2 unstamped ballots, which we determined to be invalid. In both precincts, the total number of voters matched the total number of valid ballots cast. We believe these unstamped ballots were inadvertently stuck together when issued to voters, as neither unstamped ballot was voted. As part of today's canvass, the board will review each precinct individually and compare the election night results to the official county canvass. As we proceed through the precincts, I will read the total results. Please note the total I read will not equal the total ballots cast due to undervotes and overvotes. For each precinct, you will be provided with the following materials: registration binders, poll book, precinct results pack. Included in each precinct result pack are electionware results, the DS 850 results reports, the tally sheet, which is the bright orange, the blue final recap, the pink absentee recap. As you review each precinct, please compare the precinct documentation to the official county canvass. If you have any questions during the process, please ask either myself or Kayla. Upon completion of the precinct by precinct review, I will ask for a motion to approve and execute the abstract of the results of the votes cast for each candidate. For the governor's Republican primary runoff race, Toby Doden had 2,527 votes. Larry Roden had 6,768. Once we're done, or while we're in the process of you guys going through the books, we're going to actually do the drawing for the post-election audit instead of just having dead air here. So Kayla will get you a couple books, and then we'll do the post-election audit drawing.
Sherry, got a couple questions for you.
Okay?
How many absentee ballots were there?
About just under 1,500.
And do you have a count on how many, if any, were received after the polls closed?
Any absentee ballots that we counted were not received after, no, we did not receive any after the polls closed.
Regardless, they would not be counted.
Yeah,
Right, so but it's 0.
correct.
Okay. And then with regard to those ballots that didn't contain a stamp, what precinct was that in?
I'm not 100% sure. We didn't mark that down due to the fact that they were not voted, so we presumed that since there was no markings on them, that they were attached to their ballots, so we didn't track that.
Okay. Will that be reflected in these books here if we get them?
If you look on the back of the blue recap sheet, any discrepancies would be noted on the back side of that blue piece of paper.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
What's that? No. Nope.
My notes in there, Lennox is notorious for leaving me notes.
Well,
They get forward and find people that shouldn't be registered.
nothing wrong with that.
But, so in your packet, so this is off of the ERM, so you can see like this total will match. This is from our 850, you can see those totals match. This is our tally sheet, so it's where we just add up how many people voted on election day versus absentee, and then what the grand total should be, so you can see the 264 matches the 264, which also matches that.
Okay.
And those numbers come from the election night recap and then the absentee recap. So then you can look through the poll book and randomly pick somebody, so like Weaver, and then find the W's, and just validate that that person has. John Weaver,
That
he
is
was
on
number
there.
30, and he was number 30 in the
Pick
book.
out a sample.
Yeah, just kind of a random sampling.
I do it the opposite way, like I just
Go in here, look at
go
her,
here
and
and
then
pick
see
one
if you
and
can
see
find
if it
them.
matches.
That's probably easier. That's, especially with some of their handwriting, it's like, is that an A or is that a Z? We don't know.
Okay.
Was that piece actually off at that end? Bias.
You want, when you go through them, I usually do, probably about 10
Names,
So, it
names.
looks like
okay?
it says the number of voters who are
You can know
so
them
within
if you
their
want.
ballot count is off.
No,
So they have.
I don't have a reason to, I believe.
Right. So they could have had an extra ballot in one of their packs. But they made No. This is just when we do this, this is our way to verify. Did you want to have one more, please? These are all. Is there? Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't see. I'm gonna sit down like this.
I'm so used to them because they purchase. They have for years and years and years. I've got, you know, I never seen one that I have done. Yeah, I have personally. I got, that's all I Yeah, I didn't. It was raining. Yeah, I haven't seen it in the last couple of weeks. Does he? Isn't that crazy? And that's a lifelong thing. It's my goal. My goal. I guess I'm. That ended up being lifelong. You know what the crazy part is that I did not see much for tree around the I had two of them go down across the street that had. I had to waste from my end, so I still see them shake trees. Is that the very? Sorry. Okay. I guess I never counted actually many. Just come and Got it. I just, yeah, we'll just have that. And I just- I got it.
Well, you can keep doing it, I'll read this little thing. So, while you guys are going through the books, we're gonna do the drawing for the canvas, the post-election audit. Okay, so the counties have received different guidance from several sources regarding whether a post-election audit is required following the gubernatorial runoff election. To ensure transparency and maintain consistency with our primary and general election procedures, Lincoln County has elected to conduct a post-election audit for this election. We have also been informed by the Secretary of State's office that we will likely not be reimbursed for the cost of the post-election audit, as they have indicated that an audit is not required for the gubernatorial runoff election. The cost of a typical primary post-election audit ranges from approximately $1,000 to $1,300. Lincoln County will hold its post-election audit August 18th at 10 a.m. in the commission room. State law requires the audit to be conducted in 5% of the county's precincts, which for Lincoln County is 2 precincts. We will use the bingo balls to randomly select 2 precincts. On the screen, you will see the list of the Lincoln County precincts along with their assigned bingo ball numbers and the total number of ballots cast in each precinct. We will use the list to randomly select the precincts that will be included in the post-election audit. State law normally requires 2 contests to be selected at random for the post-election audit. However, there is only 1 contest on this ballot in this runoff election. The contest will be automatically audited. Therefore, no drawing will be needed to select the contest for the audit. Caleb, if you want to draw 2 balls? You would need to zoom it out.
Yeah. I don't know if I know how to do that.
Wrong way.
Oh, you have to push and hold?
Yeah. There you go.
Should be good. B15, which is precinct 29, and it was combined with 27 for this election, with 638 ballots cast. And then B5, which is 13-14, with a total of 172 ballots cast.
Okay, so it'll be precinct 29/27
Yes.
for 638 ballots and precinct 13-14 for 172 ballots. That again will be held on August 18th at 10 a.m. in the commission chambers.
Sherry, when you say that there's a cost to that, who does the money go to pay for that?
So we pay the people that come in and do the post-election audit, but when the state reimburses us, it goes into the election fund.
So the $1,000 to $1,300 gets paid to the counters?
Yes.
Okay. And how many,
Well, I mean, it's a combination. We've got a little bit of our time, a little bit, and then the people that are the 5, we'll probably have 2 panels, so it'll be 10 people at $15 an hour for however many hours it takes them to do it.
how much of that is your time versus an actual expenditure to the,
I don't know, dude.
I based it off of what we submit for reimbursement to the Secretary of State, so if you take out auditor's pay, it would reduce it by probably $200-300.
okay, thank you.
How many counters are there?
10.
10?
Well, they're not, there's 2 people that call off and 2 people that tabulate, and then 1 person that's a supervisor. And it's 2 tables of 5.
One other question, are the cast vote records gonna be made available for this race?
Yep.
And when will that be?
I would say soon.
Okay. And are they just gonna be published on the website, or how would we access those?
I think we're planning on publishing them on the website. We didn't do it in the general yet because we are working with redacting some of them, but this one, I think we only have 1 precinct that has under 100 votes. So that precinct wouldn't be included in it, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Knocking out the door.
So it's 7:59, it's about 8 o'clock, so till Commissioner Putnam gets done canvassing that book, we'll be in recess. So we aren't all sitting here in silence, so feel free to move around. right, if not, is there public input on the agenda item? If not, can I get a motion to approve and execute the abstract of the results of the votes cast for each of the candidates in the governor's runoff election?
So moved.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Putnam,
Yeah.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Aye.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a motion to, consider a motion to approve our 2027 provisional budget for publication and authorize the auditor to advertise for the public hearing to be held on September 1, 2026.
Yep, so with this, the provisional budget is being presented. Let me see, so as the commission reviews the proposed budget, it is important to note that one significant component remains outstanding, the countywide compensation study. Because the study has not yet been completed, well, it has been, it hasn't been approved, and the associated financial impacts have not been provided to the auditor's office, no pay study adjustments have been incorporated into the provisional budget. Accordingly, the personnel costs reflected in this budget are based on current rate wages and include a proposed 3% cost of living adjustment and a 2.5% step increase. The provisional budget is intended to reflect the best information available at this stage of the budget process. Once the compensation study is finalized and its physical impact is known, those costs can be incorporated and presented to the commission during the September budget hearing. At that time, the commission will have the opportunity to review the updated information, considering necessary budget adjustments, and adopt the final annual budget in accordance with South Dakota law. Today's action marks the beginning of the final phase of the annual budget process. By approving the provisional budget, the commission is not adopting the final budget or making its final spending decision. Rather, it is fulfilling its statutory responsibility to present proposed budget to the public, provide an opportunity for a public review and comment, and continue the process leading to the final budget adoption. Following the publication of the provisional budget, the commission will hold the required public hearing where citizens may provide input and the commission may consider revisions before adopting the final 2027 budget. Before taking action on the provisional budget, I understand that Sheriff Steve Swenson and Highway Superintendent Terry Floyd have requested changes for the commission's consideration. If the commission chooses to incorporate those changes today, they can be included in the provisional budget prior to publication, ensuring the version presented to the public reflects the commission's proposed budget at this stage of the process.
Sherry, couple questions. The anticipated revenue for next year I have here is $21,168,769. Is that correct?
For the general fund,
For total revenue, I'm on page 2 of 61. Is that the total amount of revenue anticipated?
nope, because the revenue is broken out through the departments, so if you look at the means of finance, that was provided, that shows what each fund will expect in revenue. So the total revenue for the general fund, including the cash balance applied, is $36,795,216 for the general fund, and then so on as you go across.
What is it, how much does this proposed budget use from our reserves?
The cash applied is $11,177,028 for the general fund.
Thank you.
Sherry, question. How much revenue do we get from the owner-occupied real estate? Is that 21 million?
No, the total property taxes that are anticipated is $20,370,325.
Okay,
It's not broken down by owner occupied yet.
okay.
Wasn't the owner occupied about 13 million?
That was an estimate of the sales tax.
Other sales tax.
And I thought they
We get-
matched up pretty close.
Well, I mean, I don't want to throw a number out there that I haven't calculated it yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So the only motion that we're looking for now is to approve the 2027 provisional budget for publication and authorize the auditor to advertise for the public hearing to be held on September 1st of 2026.
Go ahead.
So one thing that hasn't been talked about in this is the ambulance service in Lennox and where we're gonna go with that. I was there and met with them at their annual barbecue here 2 weeks ago and went over everything with Nathan on that. And obviously, there's no commitments from the townships yet because they don't set their budgets until March before they set those. But what's the thoughts on that? I mean, are we gonna wait till the end of the year and see if Lennox holds true and
Commissioner Otten, I think that we had a request from the city of Lennox, Paul, for, what is it, $150,000? To establish an ambulance district or ambulance.
Yeah, so there's a letter and it's attached to this agenda item.
Yeah.
So if you just give me 1 second.
initial cost estimates? Are between
Yep, so this is the,
125
yeah,
and
so this is the letter sent from the city of Lennox to the Lincoln County Commission, requesting somewhere between $125,000 and $200,000. They would like to have an indication by jurisdictions by September 1st. So that is the ask. I believe, City Administrator Nate Vanderplants was here at our last meeting, and made the request during the public comment section of the portion of the budget work session.
With that said, obviously, I don't think we're gonna come up with that kind of money, nor should we, but, the townships, if you look at their equitable funding by a call value of that the ambulance has out there, Turner County has apparently stepped up and committed 22,000 plus. If you add up the 6 townships in Lincoln County, their total request is 134,401. I don't propose that we pick up all of that either, but I do propose that we put something in there. Where
Sherry,
that leads, I don't know, but
Sherry, on those restricted funds that we had for, the name of the line item's escaping me, but the $2 million for the, buildings,
Yep, $3.5 million.
could we shift some money out of there?
You can do it by a motion, yes.
What's the deficit for the next year? What's the total deficit?
11 million. It's coming out of
11 million.
reserves.
I think we could probably do, let's drop $1 million. So the deficit be maybe 12 million now. How's that sound?
So right now, we're talking about ambulance services.
Well, I'm just talking about a deficit. I can't believe you're talking about spending money when you're 11 million the bucks
I don't,
in the hole.
Commissioner Otten?
Yes.
I've been talking to folks on the Turner County Commission, and I think before we commit any dollars from general property tax dollars, we should have, I would propose, we have a joint meeting with them. And the reason being is because I believe that there is growing support for an ambulance district wherein the proceeds of revenue from an ambulance district could be used to fund an ambulance service as opposed to general fund property tax dollars. Now, just based on a conversation I've had with Commissioner Champa over there, who I've known for 20 years, served with him in the Army Reserve. But I've discussed this issue with him, and, there's conflicted feelings by people out there. Like, hey, on one hand, got to have the ambulance service, but on the other hand, how is the funding of it going to be worked out? Does it come from your general fund, or would it come from some kind of assessment, i.e. ambulance district, you know what I mean? And, but I've had some talks with those folks, and the reason that matters is because any kind of ambulance district would be a joint district. It would basically be Lincoln County, as far as this commission is concerned. If they did do an ambulance district over there, it would require a sign off by this commission and sign off by that commission. And nobody wants to raise taxes, but this issue of ambulance and essential services is coming to a head. It should, it does need to be noted that most of the communities in Lincoln County use a volunteer service. Their overhead is lower than Lennox. Lennox has a higher overhead because they have a full-time staff. And so some people have said to me, well, how come it's cheaper to run an ambulance in Hudson or wherever as opposed to Lennox? And yeah, it's because these communities have decided to differ on how they're going to run their services. What I'm concerned about going on in the future is that if we commit whatever dollar amount you commit out of the property tax general fund here, then you're going to have Hudson and Beersford and all the rest of them coming in saying, where's our check? And then we're going to get into the issue of, well, what's your overhead? How come you run higher overhead than everybody else? And why are you sending money to an entity that runs higher overhead than what we do? And so those are some of the issues that are prickly, I get it. Lennox has been very aggressive about asking for cash to run their service. But we do, and essentially it comes down to this argument about it's getting very hard to find volunteers to respond. Now, I don't know if that's particular to Lennox or not, because obviously there's other volunteer services that are being adequately run here in Lincoln County, so that is debatable. But for whatever reason, the community of Lennox has decided they're going to put the money into it. Now, on the other side of things, the city taxpayers who live in the city of Lennox, they're basically funding all of the ambulance service right now for the folks out in the rural area. They're footing the bill. And so I think that before we set a precedent of just sending a check, which I think is hitting the easy button, but also we're dipping into the kitty for 11 million here, it would be worth it to have a joint meeting with the commissioners in Turner County, kind of get their gauge where they're at, and then see if there's more appetite and interest in wanting to move forward with doing some kind of limited ambulance district. That's just my thought process. Something for you to chew on.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I would agree with you, Commissioner. I think anytime you can discuss two elected bodies put together. Currently, the Lennox ambulance serves all of the townships in Turner County that are adjacent to the county line with Lincoln County. And I think Parker has an ambulance service. One of the things that probably costs more in Lennox than it does anywhere else is they have trained EMTs, emergency medical technicians, that are qualified on life support and on several things. And if you're entirely a volunteer basis, you may not have that. That's not to say that they can't provide some kind of service to get an individual who's had an accident or a medical incident to for medication or to a hospital. But that would be one of the big items, to have a competent staff that qualifies for insurance and several other things. The long story short, and Commissioner, and Commissioner Otten as well, you're going to have a situation where everybody's going to have to step up to the plate. We've had meetings and we've had reaction. You will remember that we had one in Lennox at one time, Commissioner Aaron's, and it was a lot of heated emotion in the room. But if you approach this from a standpoint, and maybe this is just my take, rather than putting a dollar sign aside, if you have a loved one who is having a major medical event, has had a serious accident, and you want help, who do you call? Do you care at that time whether it's going to cost you $50 or $75 a year to provide that? So I think, to be fair, everybody should have skin in the game. So that means that townships have skin in the game, counties have some skin in the game, residents have skin in the game as well. So how you put that package together, how you put that district together so that everybody pays a fair share, and we come out with something that is a product that is providing for public safety, needs to be addressed and addressed soon. So Commissioner Otten, to your point, they've been looking for a long time. At the meeting that we did have, I think both our new commissioners were there along with me, and we heard that they wanted a county to step up and say something and kind of commit some kind of money. What that sum was, no one has said yet. So I think that's going to be part of what we're going to have to address once we pass this provisional budget, and we're going to look at how much money we can find, if any, to support that.
May I say a word?
Yep, go ahead, Commissioner Putnam.
Okay, now, you need to figure out how many people are in that district there, the ambulance district. Figure out how many in Canton, how many in Beersford, how many in Hudson. And that way, then you can equally distribute everything. So you're not just giving it to one person or one place. So let's just figure out how much and then take it times 5, 10, whatever. Guys, there's no numbers. What's fair in Beersford? What do you think might be fair? If they want 125,000 or 200,000, would it be fair to give Hudson maybe 25, 30,000? Beersford, I suppose Beersford, the north half of Beersford, that's about the size, maybe. The guy should drop about 75,000 to them. And I don't know, I suppose Hudson might take care of Fairview or something, maybe, I'm not sure. But Fairview's there, probably should drop them another 20 grand. I think that'd all be fair. Just keep forking out the pork. How's that sound?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner
Well, I guess
Otten.
if you consider an essential service like an ambulance and saving people's lives pork, I guess that's up to you, but.
No, I'm talking about all of it, not just one spot.
Regardless. of whether it's-
Everybody deserves a piece of the pie. However you want to call it, however you want to do it. Everybody. So give them. And Canton, what are we giving Canton?
We
Have
don't
they asked
give,
for anything?
we don't give them anything because they're run
Okay,
They
by,
run by
well-
Sanford.
they're run by Sanford.
Okay, that's fine. Then we cross them off the old mark and then at least Hudson and Beersford get a little more.
Madam Chair,
Lennox is done at the end of the year, right? Providing ambulance service to the rural area.
we have time enough, if we really want to dedicate ourselves, starting now, to dig into this thing and come up with some kind of proposal that would, if it's an ambulance district, how it would be constructed, what would be the governance, what would be their, if they have taxing powers as a separate entity. All of these things can be ironed out and presented to the voters or to the public for their input, without really expending any dollars right now.
Yeah, it would basically just be the cost of an election.
Yeah.
And it would give people, potentially, it'd give people a vote. They could decide whether they want to create the ambulance district or not. And that would, it's purest form of direct democracy, folks deciding what they want to do over there. I think the hesitation or the concern, Commissioner Schmidt, Commissioner Otten, has been the issue of, this is not taking anything away from the folks in Lennox, by the way. They run a great operation, but they run high overhead because they have people on full-time staff. And that is a kind of a bit of an outlier for how Lincoln County, how rural people look at ambulance services. And so when you get the folks in Lennox who come here and they make an ask for 150 to 200,000, that's an outlier. That's a very large number that you wouldn't see going to a rural ambulance district. And I think the other issue here is, and this is probably the biggest one, is this issue of the governance structure of an ambulance district. I think the concern, I've called the folks in the townships. I called around to kind of do a census, if you will, to ask them, what do you think about this? And I think the biggest concern they have is that the ambulance district or the ambulance service in Lennox, who wants the tax money, they also want to be intimately involved in running the taxation district. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that folks in southern Lincoln County are very conservative. And they're concerned about the corporate governance structure. It's kind of like the fox running the hen house, if you will. Again, not taking anything away from the people of Lennox, run a great service. But in terms of the checks and balances, the taxpayers over there would like to see some kind of governance structure where you don't have the people who want the money in charge of taxing the money. And so maybe you need to have some kind of corporate governance structure over there that contracts with the city of Lennox, but doesn't include the city of Lennox. I'm just throwing some ideas out there, but that's the concern, is the checks and balances on the taxation district being run by all the people who are intimately involved with the ambulance service. I think there's a way we could thread the needle. I think that's what folks will be looking for. We give a lot of confidence to taxpayers if we could thread that needle.
Go ahead, Commissioner Otten.
So, perfect. This is exactly what I was hoping out of making that comment. So we got talking about it. A lot of good ideas. I don't disagree with anything Commissioner Aaron says about the concerns about the other ambulance services asking for funds either. I've had that conversation with Lennox and with other folks before tonight. So I mean, it didn't just like pop up or anything. So I personally don't care if they form an ambulance district or some other district to fund it. The townships have to participate in this. I mean, the numbers are here of what each one of the townships are and what they should participate at. I told Lennox the townships need to participate. Said Lincoln County can't cover all of that, but I would think Lincoln County most certainly could do something. I mean, Turner County's stepping up. They got far less money in Turner County than what we have here in Lincoln County. So if their county could step up, why can't ours? So,
Well, Turner County is on the other side of would be the hospitals. So I can understand where they're trying to get involved in that because it's further away from the hospital than anybody around here is on the north side. And now I want to say too, I have nothing against ambulances. I have nothing against anything like that. And I would be more than happy to do something if we weren't staring at 11 million bucks. So I'm just kind of I'm the money guy. I don't want to do anything as long as have a deficit. So there it is.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Otten.
So, yes, and I get the whole money thing. I don't know if we necessarily need to take it out of cash reserves. There might be other places that we can score a little bit from here and there out of this budget to put that in. Not gonna change the $11 million cash infusion that the budget's requiring at this moment on it, but, you know, I have a community in my district and a lot of people in the rural area that ambulance service covers, and I need to be concerned about them because I am one of them out in the county, in the country, that requires their service every now and then. So I would be amiss to not address those concerns of the ambulance service in Lennox and everybody that lives in that district and out in the country.
So the question, I think, right now is for this provisional budget is for us to decide whether we want to identify something in the provisional budget, which leaves it open for further discussion. The provisional budget will get published for 2 successive weeks, and then we'll have our public hearing to move things forward. So it's not a lock-in, but I think perhaps we should identify something, even if in the end, we don't end up doing it.
Madam Chair
Yes.
and Commissioner Otten, if you're willing, I would like to come back on the Tuesday of August and have all of these options that we have discussed on potential frameworks for rural ambulance service presented, so we can talk about them, vet them, and then get direction as to which one the county would like, get the townships involved and the cities involved, but it'll get this thing moving. So we'd have this on the 11th.
So if I'm hearing, what I'm hearing is that nobody wants to make any changes right now to the provisional budget regarding ambulance services. If somebody does, then please.
Hey, Commissioner Schmidt, do you want to, I get it. I think I understand what you said, have the staff or whoever prepare that, but you want to make an invitation to the Turner County Commission or
Yes.
not?
Same time.
Okay.
We would have them, we would set a date for them. You'd vent everybody in this thing. I'm not in favor of putting any money right in right now. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but right now, we've got a provisional budget. I'd like to just focus on that. And the ambulance can come always later because we can, as provisional budgets come and go, you can add or subtract, so.
Yeah, because as I understand it, Commissioner Otten, and obviously this is a big if, there would be an ambulance district, and I'm not speaking for them, but it's just based on my what I heard from them, they would stop giving money to them from the general fund, and they would move towards an ambulance district to fund that, moving forward, so probably the same for the townships too.
Okay.
All right. We had requests from our sheriff to speak on the provisional budget tonight. Sheriff, do you want to come on?
Good evening, Sheriff Swenson, Lincoln County. Wanted pretty simple, since I put the budget together, we received the 2025 Homeland Security money was frozen under the Trump administration until they got destroyed. Well, they released that. Our 2025 ask was for a 3/4 ton pickup for our command post. It fit in the guidelines of the Homeland Security. So that's been granted. So I would like to remove a vehicle from the jail budget for $42,000 and purchase this pickup with the Homeland Security money that we're receiving, which is the only thing we can purchase with it, because that's.
That was 42,000, Steve?
Correct. And we'd purchase this pickup this year once the funds are released. They've been made available, but we have to wait for the state to release the funds. And the other change, and I'm a little skeptical to even ask this now with the conversation that's going on, but after the last commission meeting and the conversation that Commissioner Aaron's brought up with overtime, and I'd crunch numbers a little harder. Our calls for service are up 15%. Our civil service, we added a second civil deputy in 2023. Our revenue from civil sheriff fees was $127,000. That's up 300 or 200% now in 2026. So we've been covering that with part-time people, and we're still stretched. So my second ask was going to be to instead of one deputy for next year, two. And I'll tell you right now, I won't be heartbroken if it's not in the cards. So those are my two changes.
And what was the cost on that? Do you have a new number?
The cost of FTEs for a deputy is about $100,000 with benefits. That's a pretty ballpark figure.
The one deputy's already in this provisional budget?
Correct.
Sheriff Swenson, this may not, what did our charges from Minnehaha County increase per day, from what to what? They
It
went,
was $121, I believe, and now it's $134. But we're trending, we're not at our minimum. I don't see any increase for prisoner care next year because
Okay.
we pay for a minimum of 45 beds, and we've been averaging 35 to 40 for the last 6 months.
Has
Other
crime
questions?
went down any?
No, I wouldn't say that. Our calls for service are up. It's just, I'll leave it at that. But crime's not up. I just think we're letting more people out. I mean, it went from 60 to 35 in a couple of months, and it just, we'll leave it at that.
Hey, Sheriff, going back to the civil process. Yeah, I think it's a factor of the population and whatnot. Do you have to be certified deputy in order to do service process
No,
through the sheriff's office?
no.
Have you, not putting you on the spot, just thinking out loud here, wondering if there's any appetite maybe in the future of looking towards hiring non-certified personnel to take care of that area? That's all.
We do that with the part-time. They're both previous law enforcement officers, but and this is just my personal opinion, I think it's I think it's a dangerous job.
Okay.
I mean, you're going to knock on people's doors for money. I wouldn't want to do that as a civilian. I know Minnehaha County does it. I would rather stretch it another year than do that, but if that push comes to shove and we can't keep up, that would be an alternative. But that's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't want to knock on people's doors to take their cars and try to collect bills.
Yeah, I was thinking more of it from the point of view of just service process,
Yeah.
as opposed, because there's a very large civilian service process.
Correct.
Community in Sioux Falls. I was not thinking about it from the point of view of executing judgments,
Right.
just from the point of view of serving papers.
Yeah, and that is, we kind of do them in bunches. We just have to do a little more housekeeping inside to sort them out. But it can be done. It's being done. Not a fan of it personally, but if we advertise it and we get applicants, I guess they would be for it, right? Exactly.
All right, other questions from the commission for the sheriff? All right, thanks.
That's all I have. Thanks.
All right, and then,
So are we going to allow him to put the extra deputy in there?
well, what I was thinking we would do is hear from everybody who wants to speak, and then allow for public comment, and then we'll see what motions we have that come out of it, if any.
And I don't know that you need a motion.
To make the changes now to the provisional?
Because it's still a working document.
Okay, well, that's fine if we don't need that. Then let's just hear from everybody and then we'll take public comment and figure out if we're gonna pass this provisional budget to be published since our statutory deadline is today. All right, and then we had Terry, you wanted to come up?
Good evening, Commissioners. Terry Floyd, Highway Superintendent. I have reductions. I don't have a total dollar amount, but I will have these to Sherry. I do have a total dollar amount for the line item. The line item I'm going to be focusing on primarily here tonight is the 429.2, which is my project line item. Going through these, we have a bridge, a big grant for a PE grant. After revisiting this, I noticed that I had the full cost of that in there, and that's going to hopefully be a grant that we get, so that I dropped that down to 30,000 and down from 75,000, so there's a minus 45,000 there. I went back, we visited with IMEG on this intersection down at Hudson. We made some modifications on it to simplify it a little more, and we got a new cost estimate on that. That was at 1.5, that's going to be now at 1.1. Another line item is the microsurfacing project. Currently, we have 20 and a half miles on that. That was at 1.5 million, and that will be down to 1.3 million. Base stabilization project, that was at 250,000. That will be at 175. And then we had some Safe Streets for All grant funds for engineering. That I think is kind of in the past as far as now. That happened this year. We'll have to see next year what happens if there's any Safe Streets for All funding available for us to apply again, but hopefully I will have enough out of my other engineering costs, and that cut was 30,000 on that one. So my total adjustment for 422.9 is down to, the new number will be 5,961,000 for projects. And I believe
What was that total off, Terry?
it's the original, my original budget on this line item was 6,711,000.
So you're down 750,000?
Roughly, yes.
Say, Terry, I thought that project down Hudson, that road thing, I thought that was just at 1 million. I didn't know it was 1.5 million.
No, it was at 1.5
Okay.
is what was in there.
Anybody have any questions for Terry?
And then I have one more adjustment.
okay.
For this will be for line item 429.21. This is my maintenance materials line. I am adding $50,000 for crushed gravel on that line item. So otherwise, all the other, everything else is staying the same.
Commissioners have any questions? Okay.
So 4292 is going to be 5,961,000, and then you're going to add 50,000 to 42921.
That is correct. That new number on 42921 will be $1,360,500.
Is everybody okay making those changes on the provisional for Terry?
Yes,
Commissioners?
I commend him for coming in and rebalancing and trying to stretch those dollars. So, anyway, congratulations, you guys.
Well, probably the minority here for right now, but appreciate those changes. Understand it, understand the logic behind all of it. You know, I'm hearing from citizens down south, not interested in doing the Hudson project. I'm hearing from people up north here, not interested in doing the roundabout on what would be Western Avenue at that three-way intersection. And so I think there's other ways to cut that $11 million deficit down. And when I get concerned when two things happen. Number one, not only in the past, but I heard this a couple weeks ago, is just this issue of turning paved roads into gravel roads, but also when we are taking money away from maintenance to do new projects. That does not excite me, and I think that concerns me, that we want to go out and engage in new projects before we take care of what we already own and have and need. So if I had my druthers on this, I would get rid of those two projects, one in Hudson and then the one roundabout on Western Avenue, use some of those funds to do maintenance, and then return the rest to the taxpayer. It's my thoughts.
Can somebody tell me how many fatalities were in that Safer Streets for All study? On the Hudson intersection?
The study goes back 5 years. I don't believe there was any in the last 5 years. I think the latest one was probably 6 years ago. And then prior to that, I believe that we have 3 of them down there, probably over the last 15 years. 2 of them are in the curve, or in the east curve, and then one of them is right at the end where the curve starts into the straightaway on the south end. So,
Terry, were those fatalities was alcohol involved?
I tried to find the documentation that we had on that, and I can't find it, because we have fatality markers that we put up, and we usually, but when they were prior to me, I don't know where they kept those records.
Yeah, because here's the issue, is it's easy to identify a fatality and then attempt to use that to draw the inference or conclusion that it's a design flaw. That intersection has been designed that way for at least 50 years, right?
Yeah, it was prior to us owning it, because it was a state road.
And I don't think it's a design flaw. I think it's a result of operator error, potentially. And I would like to know, before we start going out there and saying that those fatalities were caused by the design of the road, which we don't know, I'd like to know if there was alcohol, drugs, or other issues involved, because if there was, that would do away with this issue of whether it's a design flaw.
And being out of state, somebody come in from out of state, not used to it.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So as a part of the Safe Streets for All, the safety action plan we had, this was a project on the list of projects that we had. And there were several public comments on this, that this something needs to happen down there. So the whole basis of Safe Streets for All is better design standards than we had in the past to prevent fatal crashes. And in my opinion, this is, and again, in my opinion only, but I think that's something that needs to be changed there. And if at the very least we would do, if you're gonna keep the curves, then you need to bring them up to today's safety standards, which they are currently not. But the way the whole intersection is designed, you got these people coming here, these guys gotta stop, and if you got the westbound side, these guys gotta stop over here to go west, and then they gotta look all the way back across their car to see traffic coming on the main line, 152 on the east-west road. It's putting potential dangerous impact points. But like I said, if this is something that, you guys as a board don't feel that we're ready for,
Where are the stop signs at?
so if you're northbound and you're taking the curve into Hudson, there is not a stop sign for the northbound traffic.
Okay.
The stop sign is for the east, or the eastbound traffic on County Road 152, if that makes sense, right?
Yep, no, I, that's what I kind of thought.
Correct. So now the other curve, that stop sign is at the end of the curve. So you're sitting at this curve over here and you want to go west, you got to turn around and look all the way back across your body. And then also on that leg, coming to the south, if you're going to go southbound on that curve, there's a stop sign right there at the edge where the southbound curve coming from the east meets in there. So that's another stop sign. And then there's the straightaway piece that runs in between them, that's a gravel. There's a stop sign there as well
Yeah.
for traffic.
Has there been any studies on how many people in Lincoln County have been killed on the roads?
Yes.
Any road in
We
Lincoln County?
we just had, the safety plan was just adopted back in May.
Okay,
And I would have to look back on it to see how many there were, and typically they go back 5 years.
okay, that would be a nice thing to know.
I believe we were about 120-ish.
Okay,
I'd have to look at the plan to get to the exact number.
you know,
That, by the way, that plan is posted on the website under the Highway Department.
if there's people dying in other places, and if there's that many, we should be looking at more than just there.
We are.
Okay.
There, as a part of this study that we had done, this safety plan, there are 30 projects that are listed.
Getting back to now to the Western Avenue and 271st. It's got four-way stop there. Why couldn't we make it just two stop signs, north and south, and the vehicles go east and west?
So years ago, and again, I can't recall when we end up moving that to a four-way stop. The reason it got put to a four-way stop is because the north-south traffic wouldn't have a chance to go. If you let east-west go free, north-south wouldn't have a chance to jump in, and if they did, it would be, I'm gonna gun it, hopefully I can make it.
The Veterans Parkway, when that gets done, how will that relieve that at all or anything?
Thank you for bringing that up. I don't know some of you were around, and I don't know how many of you have read the master transportation plan that we had done, and that was done in 18 and adopted in 19, and finalized in 19. If you read through that plan, it states that a 50% reduction once Veterans Parkway opened up, fully opened. And again, in 19, Veterans was only a pipe dream. But they wanted it in the study just in case it ever came to fruition, right? And they said 50% reduction in numbers. All right. In 22, 23, we had the corridor, the County Road 106 corridor study done. They pulled back on those numbers, and then they didn't call it 50%. They said a significant reduction. And in there, they also state that the drive to that lowering those ADTs on there is gonna be how quickly development develops along County Road 106. And I don't know if you're in the know or not, but you go from Louise Avenue or even I-29 over to Minnesota, or at least over to Western, there's a lot of development that's already in planning to come up,
Oh, I'm sure of that,
you know?
yeah.
So there's already starting in that area. So those numbers, I mean, it's very feasible that those numbers may not drop much over there.
Terry, how many cars a day go through there?
Last year, as part of the safety plan, they had counts done, and we were pushing 11,000 a day. And in 19, when we had the master transportation plan done, we had future counts, and we weren't looking at those counts for 15 years. And we're what, 7 years, 8 years later? I mean, it's blowing up there.
Yeah,
I mean, it was only 2.5 years ago, we were just at 10,000.
Yeah, there's a lot of use up there. I think, just in terms of the trajectory, I think when that Highway 100 Veterans Parkway opens up, according to these guys who run the statistics, there will be a decrease. We just don't know how much.
Correct.
And, it's not a decrease by like 100. They are thinking much larger in terms of numbers. We just don't know to what extent.
Correct.
What that informs me of is when, you got to balance the equities. And, and you just kind of use common sense too. You open Highway 100 up, folks are obviously going to be taking a much faster, quicker, more direct route than wanting to be on the old county highway. There will be still a sizable amount of traffic, but if the traffic is actually going to go down, as opposed to, it's going to be a net down as opposed to net up. If we were going to net up, then that would kind of put more weight on the scale of wanting to invest significant money in that intersection. But since we're going net down, that, for me, kind of answers the question.
When is that 100 supposed to be connected over there to the interstate?
The last I heard is the last segment, which is going to be western to I-29, is scheduled to start in 2028. And that'll be a 2-year project. So probably opening 30, maybe 29, 30 probably.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Otten.
So I had about a 3-hour-plus meeting with Terry on Friday to go over all of this and get some information, and I did all the traffic studies. I mean, I read them all, and I read the same numbers of what Commissioner Ernst was talking about, of those numbers going down. One thing and he's fully aware that I'm a little skeptical of this project myself, but through our conversations on that, we were talking about the development in Harrisburg, miles south down there. You have a lure over there working on, I think, 2-quarter sections, and then right behind Sunny Havens, where the school's at, there, somebody's working on an 80 there. That's a straight mile south of that, and not every one of them is going to come up that. So, there is a concern about those numbers rising, not today, but 3, 5, 7 years down the road because of that development in Harrisburg, which is not slowing down. And then can you explain you said something about the Louise Avenue closure when they're working on that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, from what I was told, in 28, when they start that last segment on Veterans, Louise Avenue will be closed. So any traffic that's going to come up, and again, I don't know if it's going to close the roundabout fully, but they won't be able to go north. They might be able to let south traffic go to the east or west, but even to the west, that's going to be deadheaded off because, they're taking over almost half a mile of county road as part of Veterans on that west end. But I know when I first initially looked at this as maybe doing something, this was last year before we even put our 5-year plan together, and it's like, I need to put this in the 5-year plan because this traffic up here is horrendous. I was up there during a peak hour. I was up there at like 4:45 at night, because I was going to a meeting at the school just to the north there. And I sat there for 5 minutes, maybe, I don't know, and it's like, what, so, geez, what, I guess I didn't know it was that bad. I usually, I don't drive it. But I think once they close Louise, this traffic is gonna have to go over here. So once I decided to maybe, let's do a study, I did a traffic study on this intersection. And when I got numbers back, that's when I contacted Sioux Falls and Harrisburg and say, hey, I'm looking at doing a project here. What year, and I was looking to do 28, possibly. And they both talked about it, and Sioux Falls is like, it would be nice to have it done before 28. Because when we do the last leg, Louise is gonna be closed for a time. And then that way, that traffic can still be routed over there and go north. That gives them another north-south corridor to go into Sioux Falls. And that's when we started to push the button, and it's like, all right, let's get going on this project to see if we can get this going for 2027, so.
I heard a rumor that Harrisburg was maybe gonna back out of their 40%.
No, they are questioning the cost share. Right now, initially, the cost share was 40% us, 40% Sioux Falls, 20% Harrisburg. And about 2 weeks ago, I think they had a council meeting. And again, I've been in contact with Heath Von Eye up there. And he said that their concern isn't with the project. They understand that the project needs to happen. Their concern is Harrisburg's expanding rapidly. And they have so many projects in their CIP, they're struggling to find it, that they're gonna have the money to afford their 20%. So, and I think he came back, and I know I met with Sioux Falls and Harrisburg last week. And I know we're working on some different numbers for cost share. And there's potentially different ways they can pay us. And I'm still working out those details, and I think Heath was, looking at it, and I think he was gonna bring those ideas back to the council and then come back and get a better idea, maybe of what they can do, because, I will say in the past, we've done different cost share agreements with townships for doing bridge work. We've done a cost share agreement with the city of Lenox, and basically what I ask is for a 20%. And they come back and they're, oh gee, 20% of how much is the project? Yeah, well, it's estimated at this. Oh, that puts our cost share at this. And when it comes to township, they don't have all kinds of money. So I work with the townships, and it's like, all right, let's leave it 20% in the agreement. And then if your cap is $100,000, 20% or a maximum of $100,000. And again, I think that's maybe another option with Harrisburg, and I think Heath was gonna kind of bring that back to the council to kind of see if they want a max number on it and remain, because at this point, I don't know we don't know what the bid is gonna come in at.
Well,
Our
yeah.
project that we had this year, or the roundabout north of Lenox, we had 10 bidders on that.
Yeah,
And that was $500,000 under
yeah.
the
That's what I was
engineer's
just, my
estimates.
question I was just gonna ask is there's a possibility that come in under bid?
And
Of
I,
course, you haven't actually bid it, you just estimated it.
correct.
Yeah, so in
Correct.
other words,
And I looked at the estimate, and I think the estimate is in the intersection study. Again, I tried to send that to you guys, but I don't know if it came through because it's really large, but it is posted. I do have it on the agenda packet here, and then I do have it I didn't post this on the website, but next week at the meeting, I'm gonna have IMAID come down, and they're gonna talk about the final report on that. And maybe you have different questions for them, because they'll have maybe more intricate details. But I look at the cost estimate, and I see there's some areas that, we got some fluff in there, but we want to make sure we're plenty high rather than being way low. But again, a lot of it is gonna come down to, moving utilities out of the way and then, right-of-way acquisition. So,
Yeah, Commissioner Putnam, I've essentially heard the same thing that Terry is saying regarding some of the concerns is when you got 10 projects going and then you get an 11th one handed to you, sometimes you got to say, well, hold on a minute here. If we want to do 10 the right way, we may not be able to do number 11.
And I understand that totally. We just,
The-
beings were looking at 11 million or 10 million.
I'll just say
Dollar
this, I think there is a concern, obviously, the growth is within the control of the city, because they issue building permits. So at the end of the day, it's not as if we are victims of some uncontrollable tidal wave. There is a tidal wave right now because governments here locally are choosing not to implement controls on growth and development. And so, when I hear these things like, well, we can't keep up, you always have to remember, well, they have the statutory legal control to slow down building permits so that they can keep up.
but one thing I will add to that, Commissioner Aaron's, is as it currently sits, and I've had conversations with Sioux Falls, that road is gonna be ours for a while. And again, I think in the short term or even midterm, I think we can get by with that remaining as a 2-lane road. The only thing that we're gonna have to do is possibly modify intersections to help traffic flow at a couple intersections. Otherwise, that road, last I talked to Sioux Falls, it's gonna be 20-plus years before they even think about coming down and taking that road. So I just wanted to make it clear that east-west corridor is still ours, right? So, and again,
I consider myself appropriately warned.
I just want to make sure that, and that's why, in the corridor study that we had done, it says that there ought to be collaboration between Sioux Falls, Harrisburg, and the county on any projects that have to do with that corridor.
But henceforth, that road it's the county's, but I would assume that it's really half of Sioux Falls because they wanted to go up to that.
They're not taking it yet. They're not taking half of
They
it.
want, what they should, because they wanted to go up to
Well-
that. They wanted control of
We did-
everything north of that, see, so.
Commissioner Putnam, we did previously take a vote on establishing what I call the DMZ, the demilitarized zone there between Harrisburg T and Sioux Falls, and that was set. We took I don't know if it can always be changed, but for planning purposes, we decided as a group between Harrisburg, Sioux Falls, and Lincoln County, my apologies, T was not involved in that. We all decided that was gonna be the
border.
the border. That's gonna be the border. And they're gonna grow into that. Just the question is, because I don't think it's listed as tier 1 growth area, I think it's listed either as 2 or 3. But their intent is they will grow up to that. Just, the question is, how long? But in my mind, and, this goes towards the point that you are making and Sioux Falls is making, is, well, let's do something about it now. So I get that. I understand it from a planning perspective where they're coming from.
And now that Highway 100 or the Veterans Parkway is there, now you're gonna see a lot of growth in respects of commercial properties being developed there along the corridor there, because the road is already set now, yeah.
So Sherry, do you have the line items to take out the 750 on those line 750,000 on Terry's and then add in the 50,000? Okay. And then on the sheriff, do you have taken out the 42,000 for the vehicle?
Yep.
Okay, and then commission thoughts on putting that extra 100,000 in for the sheriff's request on the, second deputy?
Thank you, Terry.
Is anybody opposed to putting that in for the provisional budget? All right, do you have those numbers, Sherry?
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on the provisional budget that we would publish and advertise? Were there any other department heads that wanted to present on it? All right. So all we're voting on is the publication of the provisional. Nothing is locked in. We'll continue these talks and there will be a public hearing. So with that, is there public comment on the provisional budget that we've talked about tonight?
The publication of the provisional.
Yeah, just the publication. All right. If not, can I get a motion to approve it for publication and authorize the auditor to advertise for the public hearing?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
I will second for discussion.
All right, I've got a motion and a second for discussion. Discussion amongst the commission?
I've just taken the position, I think, I haven't looked back at all the years, but I think I've always voted to publish, even though I disagree with the budget. And then as the public is very well aware, I've voted against the budget for the last 7 years, but we do have to at least publish a budget. I mean, I could go through all 61 pages here tonight, which I was prepared to do, but I don't think there's probably any appetite for that right now. But I think there's just number of significant issues that need to be changed with this budget, and I'll just say this. 2 things. Number one, I'll support tonight publishing this, but that does not mean, and I've given this speech for the last 7 years, this is now the 8th one, it does not mean that I endorse or support what is contained in this budget. My biggest concern is we collect, we're going to spend about 33, we're going to dip into reserves for 11 million, and so I guess you do the math, that means we collect about 22 million, if my math is correct, of course, but that's just, most families don't have the ability to dig into savings year after year in order to take care of their family budgets. And so very concerned about the $11 million budget deficit here, having to dip into savings in order to pay for it. Thank you.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Putnam,
Yes on that, then.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Otten,
Aye.
Aaron's,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is to consider a motion to approve recommendations for the 2026 salary study.
Good evening, Commissioners. Carrie Elling, Director of Human Resources for Lincoln County. Tonight, I am recommending that we implement the recommendations from the salary study that was presented to you by Dr. McGrath with McGrath Human Resources at the July 14th meeting. The recommendation before you is the result of a comprehensive salary study designed to ensure our compensation system remains competitive, equitable, and fiscally responsible. The proposal is not simply about increasing wages, it's about maintaining a compensation structure that allows Lincoln County to recruit, develop, and most importantly, retain our high-performing workforce. The study spans several months with input from every single department head at both the front end, where each department head walked Dr. McGrath through each position in their departments, and at the back end, where Dr. McGrath walked each department head through the recommendations for their department, in order to ensure alignment and then make sure that nothing else got missed. The department heads also weighed in on which counties and municipalities they felt should be included in the study, allowing us to have comprehensive data analytics that inform the study. The result of the study demonstrated that although we have kept up fairly well with the market, a minimum of 3% increase across all non-bargaining roles, as well as a sheriff's office matrix that aligns well with our deepest competitor, with Minnehaha County, as well as some changes in increases in roles that have fallen well below the market. This would bring us in line with the minimum, mid, and upper markets of our competitors, with a specific emphasis placed on Minnehaha, which of course is our greatest competitor for our talent pool. The 3% increase does the following. It recognizes the contributions of our employees who deliver essential services to our residents every single day. It helps maintain recruitment power and helps keep our pay structure aligned with the labor market. It demonstrates that we value employees across every department and every level of the organization, and it provides consistency and fairness throughout the organization. We're asking for additional increases for certain positions, the majority of which are in grades 113 and above, but some of them are not. The study identified positions where compensation has fallen significantly behind the market, and we have compression in certain areas that have developed over time. These adjustments are targeted, not across the board, and are based on objective market data rather than individual performance. Several of these roles have expanded in complexity, responsibility, and decision-making authority. Competitive salaries for leadership positions are essential to attracting and retaining qualified professionals who oversee critical county operations, budgets, and employees. These recommendations demonstrate fiscal responsibility by balancing employee needs with the responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars. It addresses compensation proactively, as it is often way less expensive than the costs associated with turnover, prolonged vacancies, recruiting, onboarding, training, and the loss of organizational expertise. It also, by correcting the market gaps now, helps us avoid larger and more disruptive adjustments in the future. The long-term benefits include supporting succession planning by making leadership positions attractive to internal and external candidates. And benefits also include reducing salary compression and improves the integrity of the county's overall compensation structure. These changes will position Lincoln County to remain competitive with neighboring counties, municipalities, and private sector employees. The recommendations before you tonight is based on an objective market data and thoughtful analysis. It recognizes all non-bargaining employees with a 3% increase. It brings our sheriff's department in line with their strongest competitive market pool. And it makes targeted adjustments where significant market disparities were identified. Approving these recommendations is an investment in the people who provide critical public services to our county, and additionally, it will ensure that Lincoln County remains competitive, responsible, and prepared for the future. I do want to make two just minor, technical corrections to the packet that is in the proposal. One, I want to just note that the two captains that are listed in there with an increase, that has already taken place. You approved that, I believe, back in April. So they're in the study because when the information was presented to McGrath, they were included and that hadn't taken place yet. So they're showing in the end result, even though that is already in place. So that doesn't change anything. And then there's one typo where Ryan Weiss is a deputy or a senior deputy as opposed to a supervisory, and that is a title change for now. It's just a correction. The proposal remains the same to have that new role be supervising attorney. Oh, easy for me to say. All right, I spit that out really fast. What questions do you have for me?
Questions for Carrie from the board?
Carrie, good evening.
Hi.
And thank you for hanging with us here tonight.
Of course.
First question is, would this apply to the rest of this calendar year?
Yeah, that is the ask, yes, because
Okay.
that would bring us up to speed, up to the market value, yep.
Okay.
And if you recall, we did ask for this study to start way back last December, so we're kind of behind the ask already.
Okay. And what is by doing that, what's the number that gets created as a result of that? that we did not budget for?
This really actually should still fit in with our budget for the rest of the year because because of the number of pay periods that we have left and because we over budgeted in some areas. We've had some positions that didn't get filled that we spent. I will give you the total dollar amount. However, the majority of it should fit within our current budget. The total is $163,615.16 approximately for non-bargaining, with $137,829.82 for the deputies and sergeants, for a total of $301,444.98.
Okay. Next question.
Yep.
And, and just so my comments are not interpreted, obviously, none of my comments are directed at who currently fulfills any of these roles.
Sure.
So it's nothing personal to them.
Appreciate that.
This is about budgeting.
Right.
But I'm looking at the finance manager position here. It goes from 111 to 114. Now, I think what that position currently makes is 76,000, and that would go up to 101,271. Now, 101. Now, that means the finance manager, that person's recommended pay grade is going to be 114. That's the same as our directors, highway director, equalization, currently HR, et cetera. What is the thought process of why the finance manager is being increased to the same level as directors?
Yeah, I mean, it really was each individual role and their job descriptions and their responsibilities, including, managing the overall budget and the finance and accounting and certain degrees that are required. That all was looked at individually and compared to the market. So it wasn't necessarily about, again, as you pointed out, not about our specific finance manager, but that role being in line with what it would take to hire that person if they weren't in place right now. Like if we were going to post that position, what would it take to hire into that role? And that's what would bring us up to speed for the minimum market value of that role.
So the thought process is that a finance manager should be at the same level as the directors then?
Depending on the director's responsibilities because of what they're responsible for, yeah.
And that finance manager, that person, or that role as it's currently envisioned, they don't direct or supervise any people right now, that's
I don't think they have
correct.
any direct reports,
Yeah.
right? Correct?
So I got some concerns about that,
Sure.
of course. I mean, that's jumps off the page, right? $25,000 increase.
Yeah.
Basically, we pass this tonight, that person gets $25,000 pay increase tomorrow, and they're doing the same job they were doing today. And I think that strikes some people as odd,
Sure.
or concerning, I should say, not odd. Our directors, I get that, moving them from 113s to 114s, don't have any concern about that. This is personal now, just because
Okay.
you fulfill the role.
Yep.
But, if you could step outside of your shoes right now, if you will, but it has the Human Resources Director moving from a 114 to a 115.
Correct.
What's the thought process behind that?
I will say that particular role and the degrees and certifications that it requires actually falls significantly below market value. And I will just, because you mentioned that it's personal, will tell you that the amount that is in the recommendation is almost $15,000 less still than the minimum market for that role.
Okay. And then this, sticking with HR, the HR department, the Human Resources
Yep.
Technician, that position would be going from a 105 to a 107. I think we're calling them a Human Resources Generalist.
Correct.
I've got some concerns about that, but maybe can you tell me what that person's is going to be doing, or why that's going to be the way it's recommended.
Sure, and again, that is a manner of, McGrath took the job description and compared it to similar job descriptions in the market for roles that are similar to ours, and because of the heavy emphasis on recruiting, it really does align a lot more with a generalist position than it does with a technician. A technician is just entering data, hardly making any decisions, where a recruiter, which is a big part of the role, as well as, helping with FMLA, stuff like that, is what puts that in that next category. And that role has expanded in the year that I've been here, for sure.
Lincoln County, we've got about 38,000 of our residents who are Sioux Falls residents, of course. We obviously have that in common with Minnehaha County, and we share a border. Of course, Moody County shares a border, McCook shares a border. Turner County is within the same MSA, but they, all three of those counties, different, we're all different. We have different tax bases, we have different populations, so on and so forth. But this is kind of keeping up with the Joneses, and I get that, I've been here for a while. Got to stay competitive with Sioux Falls. Obviously, my concern is that if we view ourselves as being one-to-one with Minnehaha County, we're essentially setting this standard or precedence that, well, if the Minnehaha County Commission says so, we all got to fall in line.
And I think that's very fair.
Yeah, I want to hear your take on it.
I think that's very fair, but I will tell you, I get the privilege of seeing the behind-the-scenes data that came in from each of the counties, and McGrath did take out the outliers, but we did include a lot of other counties, so it wasn't just Minnehaha. We recognize, of course, that that's where our talent pool lies. We know that we have to pull from Sioux Falls in order to get solid talent here, for sure. But I will say that Minnehaha's numbers, a lot of times were in line with the minimum market. So it wasn't like the Minnehaha number pulled us way up in any of these cases. As a matter of fact, in my position specifically, obviously because I'm intimate with it, it was lower than the minimum of the market.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Great questions, thank you.
Other
Anyone else?
commissioners have questions for Carrie? All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any public input on the salary study? If not, could I get a motion?
Motion given.
What's your motion, Commissioner?
Motion to accept the salary study as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second? I've got a motion from Schmidt, second from Commissioner Otten. Any further discussion? If not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Just parting comment here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like a lot of it, there's good parts to it, there's bad parts to it. My view on this is, I understand that we compete with Minnehaha County, but we don't have the same parity as them. They have a significantly larger budget, they've got a larger tax base, and we're kind of at the smaller kid across the street who's trying to keep up with the big high school quarterback, and we want to be like him. And that's great. And there is recognition, obviously I'd be blind or willfully ignorant if you say we're not competing up there, but we're also not the same. And I've always been concerned about just, heck, why, I say this in jest, of course, but why not just consolidate with Minnehaha County if we're gonna continue to follow their lead to this extent? I think maybe we're like 90 to 95% of what they're at. I could see that. And why does that matter? It matters because got an $11 million deficit. I like some parts of the law enforcement issue here. I like what they've done with the directors here. I get it. That all makes sense. But I think some of these this passes, that means tomorrow, there's people who are getting $25,000 raises, just because they occupy the position, but they weren't hired for the position. And that needs to be taken into consideration here as well. So, and again, not a comment to that, any person that occupies that position. Of course, this is all about budgeting and putting together a much more bigger picture issue. It's not personality driven whatsoever. So, and also, my other main point of concern here is that, we incur another $301,000 out of our budget that wasn't budgeted for. I take Carrie's point that there was some things that we haven't, there's some accounts or areas that we haven't spent out of that we're going to dip into, but then that raises the larger point of how come we increase those in the last year in the first place? We should have never put that much money last year into those places if we were never going to spend that in the first place. So I've never liked the argument of, essentially, we're backing into that argument and attempting to say, well, it's not a big deal because we have the money sitting around. Money should have never been sitting around in the first place. Never should have been budgeted that high in those categories originally. So that concerns me as well. Now, going forward, I think that makes much more sense for 2027, but I have never been a big fan of doing these mid-year major budget moves. I think you could do this for 2027, moving forward, but I think doing this in the middle of the year, just from a process point of view, lends itself to more of that dysfunctionality in the budget process. And so those are my comments. Thank you.
I have a comment too then.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Commissioner Putnam.
Thank you, Joel, for that. I 100% agree with you. And it's sad that we're going to have to sit there and go into the 27 year here and still try to figure out how to make things work, and it's just a sad affair, but you guys take that on yourselves to do it, and God have mercy on you. I'm done.
Commissioner Otten, did you have something you wanted to say?
So a question to what Commissioner Aaron said about having the study start at the beginning of 2027. Can the process work that way today?
Could it work today? Yeah, I suppose it could.
Does that mean you
I don't know if Carrie wants to address that.
I got a direct question for Commissioner Aaron, since he brought up the point.
Yeah.
My question to him is he gonna vote for it then if that's the motion?
Commissioner Otten is engaging in some good old negotiation here, huh? Used to do this with Commissioner Schmidt.
I'm on par.
Conceptually, I'm with you. I'm walking right up to that line with you. I have concerns about just a couple of these positions that are being significantly increased. That's my issue. And maybe if you and I dickered back and forth on that, maybe we could have the compromise.
So with that, I don't necessarily disagree with a couple of the positions on there, but is that worth throwing the whole thing out the door and doing nothing? Over a couple finer points.
I think you got your 3 votes.
Any further
Now we know how
discussion?
you're gonna vote.
Any further discussion? All right, if not, Sherry, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Putnam,
No.
Commissioner Aaron's,
No.
Commissioner Ottenden,
Yeah.
Aye.
Can you say that again, Commissioner?
Said aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Well, I know I'm going to be criticized for this, but we paid good money for a study from professionals that evaluate. If we don't want to listen to what they have to say, or we don't want to listen to market, we just want to put our finger in the air and saying, well, what's the most popular thing to do? I vote aye. Yes, I vote in favor of it because we paid the money, we got a staff, they deserve
Spend
it.
that money.
Our staff deserves to be compensated for high-quality work, period.
Landine,
Yes, motion carries. Next, we'll move on to board discussion on the Justice Center. Commissioner Putnam.
I'm gonna pass for tonight. I'm gonna do it another day. I'm done pounding on you.
All right, next item on our agenda is to consider a motion to set a first reading for August 11th and a second reading and public hearing on August 25th, 2026 at 7:30 PM for an ordinance to impose a county gross receipts tax. So this is just to set the first reading.
What is it about?
The county gross receipts tax.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're deciding whether you're gonna do it or not, or you're gonna put it up to a vote, or how's that gonna happen?
We're setting a first reading for August 11th, 2026.
Just read it off. Shit, read it off now.
Is there a motion?
So
No.
moved.
So,
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that for discussion. I want to hear what Mr. Anderson was going to say back there.
I was just gonna ask if anyone had questions on the process.
The process is to do what we're doing, which is setting the first reading.
Yep, that's all I had.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Putnam had some
Just first
questions about the
reading
process.
of an ordinance to maybe pass a tax, a half-cent sales tax, would be the first step in that direction.
Thank you, Commissioner. Got a motion and a second to set the first reading. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Putnam,
No.
Aaron's,
Yes.
Otten,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes,
Landine.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have opportunity for public comment for items not on our agenda. If you'd like to come up, now would be the time to do so.
Good evening, Sarah Stever, 46850, 276th Street. My question actually is about SB 245 in conjunction with SB 96. So SB 245 is being enacted as we currently speak. So this is the property tax relief that's already in place. Part one of it comes from, it's 55.6 or $55.9 million that's going to be coming out of some sort of the state budget that's going to be used for property tax relief. And then we have the second piece of it, which is the 4.5% sales tax that is currently 4.2%, but by next July 1st, it'll have been raised by that 0.3%. That 0.3% for the state comes through and is tax relief. And that was passed and signed by the governor. So we have something in place already for property tax relief. So I guess my public comment is, would it be better to wait and see how that actually shakes out rather than implementing a new tax in order to have property tax relief? So SB 95, and particularly SB 95, because it's a gross receipts tax, I think ends up being on the shoulders of people, of the end consumer, just the way it gets passed along. So if my business is going to pay a gross receipts tax, if I have a bad year, I still have to pay the tax, right? Because it's on gross receipts. It's not on my profit. It's not on whether or not I was successful. So I think it's a tax that penalizes startups. I think it's got a lot of drawbacks to it. And so to implement something like that, when we actually have an entirely separate effort to relieve property taxes, I'm just wondering the timing of it and why we would actually need that, because it cannot be used for anything else. It can't be used for the $11 million. It has to be set aside for property tax. So I guess I'm more asking questions, why the timing and why we want to implement that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one more thing to add too, if I can.
It's public comment right now.
Okay, as soon as it's done.
Good evening. My name's Dan Kipley. I live in Sioux Falls, and I'd just like to make a few comments about what I witnessed here this evening. Is when you're talking about a budget, I think one of the things you're drastically forgetting is you have an issue as far as with your expenses, but I think what you're really looking at is you have a revenue problem. And I think that's one of the things that you have to look at, and look at hard, is you have to look at ways you're going to increase your revenue. And when you continue to say no to economic development projects that have an opportunity to raise your revenue, you have to look at it hard why you're turning down revenue opportunities when you have fixed expenses that you're going to have no matter what. Those expenses include the jail, the public safety, and all the other things that you have as far as and that sort of things with the road upkeep and all the other expenses that you're talking about. The next thing I want to mention is that when you're looking at those expenses, then why don't you first look at your own salaries? What I'd recommend that you do is reduce your salaries to $1 a year. Show the people that you're as a public servant. And if you're not going to reduce the salaries to $1, then take your salaries like other people do in public service, donate it back. Donate it to the United Way or to another charity if you're not going to donate it back to the general fund here in Lincoln County. And lastly, I think it's time that you, as the commissioners, you're doing a great job as far as giving away a lot of public time and energy, and as far as treasure, because you do donate a lot of time outside of hours. But what you have to look at is you got to step up and show some leadership. The one thing that it's been lacking in this group that I've been witnessing over the last several months is everybody likes to bitch, but no one steps up and offers leadership. Offer some leadership. Commissioner Aaron's, you've indicated you voted against the budget now 7 times and you want to plan on voting against it 8. Pretty soon you're going to be sitting in the middle chair and you're going to have to offer some leadership. You love to grandstand because I've witnessed it time and time again. I went back and walked through District 1. I walked before the June 2nd primary. I heard a lot of feedback. I walked it again recently just to ask about FF&E for the new center. Not one person on the door I knocked on said we should cut refrigerators and cold water for the people. It was asinine, is what they said on a $50 million project. You're worried about a refrigerator. The next thing is, when you talk about Western Avenue and safety, you need a roundabout. Belly up and show some leadership instead of bitching. That's the challenge for all of you tonight. Step up and lead. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment this evening? If not, we'll move on to commission office reports. Paul, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Paul Anderson, Commission Administrative Assistant. Couple updates here. Circling back to the ambulance, the legislature canceled the most recent emergency medical ambulance task force meeting, so there's no update from that. Have started reaching out to the State Historical Society about potential grant opportunities for historical preservation. Not a lot of movement on that yet, so look for more in the future, but it's kind of a slow process. The most important thing is to call out for everyone. The next evening meeting, you will have seen it on the agenda. The regular meeting is set for 7:30 because we will be having a joint meeting with the City of Sioux Falls at 7:00 p.m. here in Canton. It's a standing meeting that's always scheduled to start at 7, so we'll be starting with the City of Sioux Falls at 7 and then beginning our regular meeting after that, planning for 7:30. So just a heads up to the board and a heads up to the public that is why those times look different for next month. So.
And that'll be here.
It will be here.
Okay.
It'll be in Canton. So,
Okay,
yes,
thanks.
thank you.
All right, any commission reports this morning, or excuse me, this evening? Feels like it might be morning.
I just have to iterate on the fact that I have no problems against the half-cent sales tax, but I think it should be up to the people, and they should vote on it.
Other commissioner reports this evening?
Good evening. There's always some out there. They tend to be these country club Republican types who equate leadership with spending money. You're not a leader unless you open the checkbook. I've been in the military for 32 years, sir. I know a little bit about leadership. Been promoted 5 times on the officer side. Been nominated by the president to be a 06 colonel. I know what leadership is. Leadership is not opening the checkbook. You know what the real leadership here is in Lincoln County? Defending the family's pocketbook.
The taxpayers.
We need to defend the taxpayer. Nobody asked for a roundabout on Western. Do you have an economic analysis showing me we're going to have this influx in property tax money because you have a roundabout there? No. You just want us all to believe this notion. These economic development people, they even had to put commercials on TV this last winter defending economic development. Growth's not paying for itself, folks. The growth is not paying for itself. But it's very wealthy people, like Mr. Kipley and others, who want us to spend more of your taxpayer money. Blue-collar working folks out there, they've had enough. They don't want you leading their money out of the public treasury. They want you defending their taxpayer dollars. They want you to defend their pocketbook. They're sick and tired of being told by these elites in society that you need to spend more in order to be a leader. Leadership does not equal spending. Now, I received a number of comments from people thanking me for the vote on the FF&E. Frankly, I don't think you knocked on doors where people were saying that's asinine. I think you talked to one person And now you're parroting that. Because I've had numerous people tell me they don't want $659 beverage coolers. But it's not the beverage cooler. It's not the issue. The larger issue is they want leaders who separate wants from needs. They don't want people like Mr. Kipley who grandstand and come in here and tell us, you're less than, you're other than, if you don't buy a beverage cooler for the jury. That's asinine. That's ridiculous. The public doesn't want their money spent like that anymore, sir. That is the message that's been sent. You haven't received it yet. You know it's there. You don't want to acknowledge it because you don't like it. It doesn't fit with your worldview. Rest of Lincoln County's weighed in. They've said enough is enough. No more $659 beverage coolers. No more
Wine cooler.
No more 5 refrigerators in a courthouse. If you can't lead on the small things, you definitely can't lead on the big things. Public is sick and tired of it, and they've had enough. Leadership is defending the family budget. Now, with that said, I've got another report. For the last 10 days, my family and I had the opportunity to go on the annual family vacation. And we went to 11 different states this year. My wife and my 2 younger kids are in pursuit of hitting all 50 states. I hit the 50th state last year. I went to Alaska. It's fantastic. It was my last one. This year, we started out in Ohio and worked our way. We went up to Canada. We were in Toronto, Montreal. And then along the way, we like to hit Major League Baseball games. We hit one in Toronto, the Blue Jays. And then we also went to the Phillies were playing the Yankees. Now, the Yankees were kicking the crap out of the Phillies over that series, but the Phillies, the hometown team, they won. They beat the Yankees the night we were there. But we hit 11 different states, New York, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Virginia, West Virginia, a whole bunch of them. And one thing, red states, blue states, there was a lot of love for America 250 out there because of the semi-sesquicentennial. And, we were even in Vermont. We toured Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I didn't get to meet Bernie Sanders while I was there. But I did get to meet along the way the people. And people out there, just like in Vermont or West Virginia or South Dakota, they're all the same. They want to look out for their families, and they want to look out for their country, and they want to be treated respectfully, and they want to be protected, they want to stay safe. And my report here is that having just toured those 11 different states over the course of like 10 days or whatever it was in America, we have more in common than what we don't. We absolutely do. I don't care if it's a blue state, red state, purple state. We're in Pennsylvania. It was just amazing being able to talk to people, being able to talk to business owners, being able to talk to taxpayers, or just regular people. We talked to the people who work at Ben & Jerry's. It was just fascinating. It was a great trip to be on, and I think it's something, America is a very special place. And I've been thankful to be able to defend it and serve it, and gives you a better appreciation for the people that are out there. Thank you.
Any other commissioner reports this evening?
I just alliterate on the fact of the he brought up the courthouse and that wine cooler deal. The taxpayers of Lincoln County is just sickened by having to spend that much on that building, 50-some million bucks on. That was wrong, and I'm gonna talk about it, but I just wanted to let you know, that was wrong to ever have done that. And there's nothing we can do now because it was done.
We need an
I will talk
executive
about
session, right?
Sub 4, Madam Chair.
Sub 4, all right. Need a motion to go into executive session under SDCL 125-2 sub 4.
So moved.
Thank you, is there a second? Got a motion and a second, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Putnam,
What are we doing?
executive session,
For what reason?
sub 4.
The floor?
Sub 4?
Sub 4. Don't know what that is.
Do you have your agenda?
What is that?
Yep.
Says sub 4 right there, the bottom one.
Got a motion and a second to go into executive session, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Guess so then.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes, motion carries.
Moved.
Yep, I'll
Is there a second? Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Putnam?
Yep.
Aaron's?
Yes.
Otten?
Aye.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
I adjourn.